I never expected the same city to feel like two completely different worlds. Edinburgh at 4 a.m., with its empty streets and gothic silence stretching across centuries-old cobblestones, versus Edinburgh at 4 p.m., bursting with bagpipes, roaring crowds, and an energy that hits you like a wave the moment you step into Old Town. In this Scotland travel vlog, I'm taking you through both sides of the same city in a single day, and by the end, you'll know exactly which Edinburgh is truly worth waking up for. My alarm went off at 4 in the morning, and I won't lie, part of me wanted to stay buried under those covers. But I'd heard stories about what Edinburgh Old Town feels like before the tourists arrive, so I dragged myself up, climbed the Playfair steps right next to the National Galleries of Scotland, and stepped into a version of this city that most visitors never get to see. Passing through Milnes Court, one of Scotland's oldest surviving open courtyard examples, tucked away like a secret from another century, I reached the heart of Old Town and found it completely deserted. A ghost city frozen in time where every shop was shuttered and every street lay silent. The only company I had besides my brother was Tolbooth Kirk, that breathtaking neo-Gothic tower rising above the cobblestones as if it had been waiting there all night just for us. From there, I made my way to St. Giles Cathedral, Scotland's mother church, standing in the morning quiet and losing myself in every detail of its captivating Gothic architecture. Not a single person in my frame. Right beside it, the neoclassical Signet Library and the High Court of Justiciary sat in equal silence, and as I continued toward Cockburn Street, I passed through the 500-year-old Advocates' Court, a medieval passage so narrow and ancient it truly felt like stepping into a different century. Cockburn Street itself was a revelation. Its winding structure, those historic Scottish Baron-style stone buildings, and the colorful independent shops lining both sides all completely, impossibly empty. At the end of the street, I spotted the Milkman, that iconic shop you've probably seen in every Edinburgh Instagram post, standing there alone with zero content creators in sight. Walking the Royal Mile past Tron, Kirk, which now serves as an artist market, I felt like I was on a historical film set, waiting for someone to finally shout action. A short walk later, I arrived at Victoria Street, and if you've ever searched for things to do in Edinburgh, you have definitely seen this curved, colorful street in your results. It's one of the 3 most iconic photo spots in the entire city, the real-life inspiration for Diagon Alley in Harry Potter, and there's even a branch of the Elephant Cafe, right here, the very cafe where J.K. Rowling wrote the books, still displaying the actual table she worked at. Seeing Victoria Street completely empty, without a single soul on those cobblestones, felt almost surreal. Just below it, Grassmarket, normally packed with colorful shops and popular restaurants, was so deserted it looked like a state of emergency had been declared, and for a moment, I honestly wondered if I was still in one of Europe's most visited cities. My final stop of the Edinburgh morning walk was the Vennel, and honestly, I had no idea what to expect. After climbing those stairs and turning around, I understood immediately why people describe this spot as nothing short of magical. That unique framed view of Edinburgh Castle rising between the buildings is something no photograph can truly capture. By now, I was tired, hungry, and the city was finally starting to stir, preparing itself for the routine crowds that would soon fill every corner. I made my way back over the bridge with that incredible view of Waverley Station below, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction I rarely get from travel. I returned to the room for more sleep, knowing I had just experienced something truly rare, Edinburgh before tourists, in its purest and most honest form. After resting up, I stepped out onto Princess Street in the afternoon, and the contrast hit me instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. The morning's sacred tranquility had been replaced by a crowded, noisy, but undeniably intoxicating atmosphere along Princess Street Gardens, and I walked with a fresh sense of curiosity and excitement, completely convinced I had arrived in a brand new city. Waverley Bridge, the beating heart of city transportation, hosting the central station, airport buses, taxis, and electric bicycles was absolutely buzzing with life. By this point, I was properly hungry and, not wanting to waste a single minute of daylight, grabbed a quick meal for 17 euros before continuing. Walking along Market Street past the historic museum on the Mound and the charming new steps, I headed back toward Old Town, and that's when the real Edinburgh reality check began. New College, the University of Edinburgh, stood in full splendor under the afternoon light, completely closed when I passed it at dawn, but now impossible to photograph without dozens of people in the frame. Entry was free, but the city crowds had claimed every inch of space, and I quickly realized that the solitude I had enjoyed just hours earlier was a once-in-a-trip kind of privilege. Passing through Milnes Court again, I was completely unprepared for what awaited me on the other side, a crush-like crowd in the center of Old Town. But this wasn't a disappointment. It was an intense, immediate dose of the city's dynamic energy, underscored by the haunting melodies of a bagpiper echoing through the stone alleyways. St. Columba's Free Church on one side, Tollbooth Kirk on the other, vibrant cafes buzzing in every direction. I felt re-energized, like I was visiting for the very first time. Driven by pure curiosity, I rushed down the stairs next to the church to see Victoria Street in its afternoon chaos. A dense crowd, parked cars everywhere, people queuing for photos in front of Elephant Cafe, lines snaking outside the licensed Harry Potter shop, and every cafe packed with tourists from every corner of the world. Grassmarket was the same, not an empty table in sight, and yet, watching strangers enjoying the sunlight breaking through the cloudy sky, I couldn't help but smile. Waking up at 4 in the morning to see these places without crowds was, without question, one of the best decisions of my entire Scotland road trip. Back on the Royal Mile, I spotted a group of Scottish fans marching alongside a bagpiper. Supporting their World Cup team with raw, unpolished passion, I followed them for a while. Completely absorbed in the moment, I passed the Writers' Museum, tucked quietly among the chaos, and then made a deliberate stop at St. Giles Cathedral once again, this time paying 12 euros to finally see the interior. The stained glass windows, the intricate wooden carvings, the soaring Gothic vaults, and the angel figures suspended above all of it was striking, and while I won't claim it's the most beautiful cathedral I've ever visited, that short visit felt essential given its profound religious significance for the Scottish people. Afterwards, I walked to a spot I had completely missed in the morning, the hidden area behind the church that houses the Supreme Courts, the country's most important historical and legal building, with the Charles II statue standing proudly in front. Right opposite, Edinburgh City Chambers serves as the city's administrative heart and the official meeting point for the City of Edinburgh Council. Walking through that dense, slow-moving tourist crowd, I realized that Edinburgh had quietly, unexpectedly become one of my favorite cities in recent years. I stepped inside Tron, the same building I had walked past in the morning darkness, and found a small indoor market filled with local artists selling their work. A beautiful and unexpected glimpse into the city's deep cultural richness. Even the ongoing construction nearby, which content creators like me usually despise in their frames, reminded me that cities must evolve, and Edinburgh does so without losing its soul. I passed the milkman once again, now fully embedded in the lively afternoon rhythm, and stumbled upon Jackson Close, one of those narrow, easily missed passages connecting so many of the hidden corners and Edinburgh hidden gems that most visitors walk straight past without ever noticing. Cockburn Street had fully returned to its routine, shops wide open, cafes buzzing with tourists, the whole street alive, and after a final walk through these streets, I had now seen in both absolute silence and joyful chaos. I had covered 13 kilometers on foot, experiencing every single facet of Edinburgh in one unforgettable day. Before heading back, I realized I had completely missed Gardener's Cottage earlier, so I returned to Princess Street Gardens for one last short walk, and I'm so glad I did. This 19th century Victorian lodge, originally built as a home for the head gardener who tended these very gardens, adds a genuine fairy tale-like energy to the city, sitting there as if it had emerged from an enchanted forest right in the middle of urban Edinburgh. And it's exactly the kind of place that reminds you why this city captures hearts so effortlessly. By now, I was completely exhausted and rewarded myself with 2 iced coffees from Costa Coffee for €10, heading back to the room for a desperately needed short rest. But Edinburgh had one more thing to give me before I left. So what did this entire day in Edinburgh actually cost? Let me break it down honestly. A quick meal for 2 came to €17. Entry to St. Giles Cathedral was €12. 2 iced coffees at Costa were €10. And before heading to the airport, we treated ourselves to an incredible Scottish lamb chop dinner at Bistronomy 176 on Rose Street for €65. The airport shuttle from Waverley Station cost €14, bringing the day's total to €118 for 2 people. But here's the reality. You could absolutely do this exact Edinburgh walking tour for significantly less by grabbing street food instead of a sit-down dinner, easily bringing your daily budget closer to €40 to €50 without sacrificing any of the experience. If I'm being completely honest with you, trying to cram both a 4 AM sunrise tour and a full afternoon of exploration into a single day was ambitious to the point of borderline reckless. By late afternoon, I was running on caffeine and pure adrenaline, and I initially skipped Gardener's Cottage entirely, which meant backtracking when I was already running on fumes. Not every mistake on this trip was my own doing. Either the dense crowds around St. Giles Cathedral at midday made it nearly impossible to get clean shots, and I genuinely underestimated how long it takes to walk between Old Town's major landmarks when every street is packed with tourists. If I were to do this day again, I'd start even earlier and map out my afternoon route backwards, hitting the busiest spots last. But here's the thing I need you to understand. Edinburgh is not a city you come to for a relaxing vacation. You come here to feel something, to walk through centuries of history, to lose yourself in winding medieval streets, and then find yourself again over a warm meal in a cozy Rose Street restaurant. After 7 days on the road, starting in Glasgow, driving through the Highlands, and ending with this magnificent finale in Edinburgh, I felt genuinely, unexpectedly sad boarding that airport shuttle. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Would I set that 4 AM alarm again? Without a single moment of hesitation. Seeing Edinburgh empty, hearing nothing but seagulls and my own footsteps echoing off cobblestones that have been there for half a millennium, that's not just a travel experience, that's a memory I'll carry forever. If you're planning your own Edinburgh travel guide or Scotland road trip for 2026 and beyond, don't forget to like, comment and share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more honest, unfiltered Scotland travel vlogs. Drop your questions about visiting Edinburgh or anything you want to know about what to see in this incredible city in the comments below. I'd love to help you plan your trip. All my booking links and resources are in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.